Welcome, sons and daughters of Odin. I am the Lord of the Runes. This is part 3 of the explanation of the Elder Futhark Runes. I have done in the first 2 videos, the first 10 runes, and now I'm doing the next 5 in the series. So that is Isaz, Yira, Yiwas, Peroth or Perthro, and Alges. And I'll get straight into it, as I always do. So the first rune in this video is Isaz. So you can see that it's a bit hard to see on the camera there, but that's basically, it's just a straight line, an eye. And that is the energy of ice. And this has a number of different energies attached to it. Essentially, the energy of ice is something that's, rapidly changes. And when it comes into our life, it forces change. Ice forces us to adapt. Ice can stop traffic. Ice can stop water flow. Ice can stop boats from getting through rivers and parts of the ocean, like big icebergs. It also has the energy of glamour. And that's glamour from the outside, but also self-delusion. It is the energy of fast travel. In the ancient times, they devised sleds that could travel over the ice. But there's also the dangers of thin ice, crashing through the ice. It is also the energy of being frozen in place, of being frozen in fear. And when one is frozen in fear, it really reveals parts of ourselves that we weren't aware of. So it can be a revealing rune. And the energy it brings to our lives depends on the context in which it arises. Now, the duality is, of course, yes, there's look beneath the surface to see if there's anything you need to observe. There could be treasure under the surface. There could be a revelation. There could be something, a shadow that you're not seeing. The challenge is that it's treacherous footing. There could be thin ice that you're going over. There could be glamour there that's deceiving you, because when sun shines through ice, it creates a kaleidoscope of colours, similar to a rainbow. And that's dazzling. And when this rune comes up in the context of a question from a reading or in your life, look to where things may be dazzling you, people or situations, and look beneath the surface again. What is beneath the surface? But also look to where it could actually help you move across an abrasive situation or person. There's a lot of applications of this rune, and one of the things that usually comes up in a reading that I do when this rune comes up is, okay, what's freezing you in place? What are you afraid of that's stopping your momentum, stopping your progress? And the energy of this rune also can merge into others. For instance, if you get this rune in a three rune draw from the past, present, and future, which is the rune draw that I do. If it's in the middle, of course, it interacts with runes on either side, but it interacts with them all, really, no matter where it is in the reading. But for instance, if it comes up in a reading where Kenaz is drawn in any part of the draw, so if it's drawn in the first, second, or third rune, if it's in relation to Kenaz, which is torch, revelation, then something is trying to deceive you, or there's something hidden in plain sight that could be dangerous that you need to pay attention to. If it comes up in relation to algaes, which is what I'm going to talk about soon as well, then it could mean you need to look at new ways to protect yourself. There's something that's freezing you in place and leaving you open to attack. There's a lot of ways this can be interpreted. So really ask yourself, okay, what are my fears and what's freezing me in place now? What do I need to do to overcome those fears, to glide over the situation like a sled on ice? So very versatile rune, this one. And yes, in a reading, it can really impact on the result of the reading and what you need to do to resolve whatever issues are plaguing you, really. So that is Esaz. The next rune is this one, Yira. And this means harvest, literally. It's the energy of the harvest, of reaping the rewards of work put down in the past. So modern day interpretation is something that you've worked on that you're getting a reward for. So maybe it could be a long-term project that you're working on. Like a couple of things I'm doing now. This rune has come up 2 days in a row for me in my daily draw, so I'm paying attention to it. If you're working on a project, it means that you need to spend time on it to really ensure that it is mature enough before you actually pull it out of the ground, so to speak, and harvest it. And this is the duality of the rune. The gift is, yes, success from completion of a project and reaping the rewards at the right time. The duality, or the challenge, is could mean momentum lost, or hitting the button too quickly, pulling the trigger at the wrong time, pulling out the plants before they're matured. So an analogy is if you're growing tomatoes or something like that, and you really want some tomatoes and you pull them before they're actually ripe enough and they don't taste as nice, and their flavour and their nutrients aren't there if you'd let them mature a little bit more, maybe another week or two. And it's about looking at what needs more work, what needs more energy in your life if it comes up in the context of a reading. Are you actually rushing something in order to get it complete because of impatience? So this rune also heavily implies patience, prudence. Look at what you're doing and really examine if it requires more work and more time. And what are you doing? What are you doing in your life that requires the energy of maturity, of putting more work into it, so down the track you will reap the rewards? And in a world where instant gratification seems to be the prevailing desire, this rune can sometimes be ignored, the energy of this rune. So when it comes up, it's very important to pay attention to it. And I do, and it's come up 2 days in a row for me, so I'm paying attention. So the next rune, and this is a very, very powerful rune. I've been doing a lot of work with this one. This is Yiwas, and it is representative of the yew tree, which is a tree that is evergreen in the north of Europe, or in Europe in general. Of course, when it's winter, they have very harsh winters compared to Australia where I live. And the yew tree managed to stay green throughout the whole winter, the whole year, particularly in winter. And this was seen as a very important, very unusual thing in the north at the time, where the winters were particularly harsh. And so it is the energy of immortality, but it's also the energy of spanning time. The runes are fourth dimensional objects, and that means that they don't adhere to linear time that we have in the third dimension here. So the yew tree was also a tree that was believed to be, Yggdrasil was believed to be a yew tree, the world tree, which is representative of the 9 realms. The 9 realms were placed around the branches of the yew tree. It's also interesting to note that the Milky Way is seen to be a symbol of Yggdrasil, the world tree, and that's where it came from. So if you're outside and you look up at the Milky Way, you'll see that it sort of resembles a tree if you look closely, and all the different branches. So Yggdrasil was an evergreen tree, an immortal tree, and it's able to transcend time. So this rune is very powerful in a lot of work where you want to transcend time, not only going into the future, but going into the past. And there's specific work you can do to utilize this rune, which I'll talk about in other videos or some of the services that I provide. But anyway, I'll stick to the runes. And it's representative at its core of energy. And when it comes up in your life, or if you want to apply the principles of Yiwas, really look at what you're doing, where you're spending your energy, where you're allocating your energy, and ask yourself, is this a good allocation of my energy? Is the project worth it? Is what I'm doing worth all of this energy? And listen to what comes up. Because yes, at its core, this is pure energy, this rune. And energy is timeless. Everything is energy. And with this rune, you can actually apply energy to many things across time. And one use of this rune is if you draw it on your bedhead, you will dream dreams of power. You will go to different places and you will see things in your dreams that will stay with you in waking life. I'm actually going to try it tonight. Another practice you can do with this rune in particular is at the end of your day, think about what you have allocated your energy to, how you have reacted to certain things, and really consider, was that a worthwhile allocation of my energy? Did I spend the energy correctly? Or how could I do it better next time? And if you do that as a daily practice, then it is implanted in your brain or in your vibration to really think about how you're allocating your energy. And when certain situations come up that you've considered at the end of your day, then you remember and you act differently to what you did before. And then it is a worthwhile allocation of your energy. So that is Yiwas. Oh, one more thing I'll tell you about this rune as well. The tree, the yew tree as well, also had hallucinogenic qualities. If you ate the needles or the leaves, you'd probably die. So they're poisonous. But it also had an energy of being able to induce hallucinations when you sat underneath the tree on a hot summer's day. So that is the energy of Yiwas, traveling through time, allocation of energy, and so on. So I'll move to the next rune, which is this one. It is Peroth, Perthro, as it's called as well. And this is the energy of luck, Haminya, but self-made luck and luck generated in groups, in the community. It's a very social rune. And it can be generated in a lot of ways, by socializing, by feasting, as the Vikings did, the Norse people did quite frequently, particularly after a raid or something, where they scored a lot of loot. But it's also the energy of sex. And when you look at the rune upside down, it looks like a pair of open legs. And of course, you need company to have sex, good sex. And this, of course, builds that energy of Haminya, which is self-made luck that you earn, karma as well. What you put out, you get back. Put out, sex, get it? Yeah, anyway. It's a very social rune, and the gift and the challenge of this is, yes, good fortune that comes from good luck and building your Haminga. And of course, the duality of it is a bit of misfortune. So if you're lacking good Haminga in your life, then utilize the energy of this rune, Peros, Perthro, and go out and socialize. Go out and spend time with your friends and your family. Go out and have sex. And the energy of Haminga will generate in your life. It's pretty simple, really. It's a pretty simple concept, this rune. There's really not much to it to embody its energy. It's really ensuring that you take advantage of all the positive energy generated from being with people you actually want to be with, as opposed to those you don't want to be with, and ensuring that energy filters out collectively. So it's also about choosing who you actually hang around, who you socialize with, who you have in your life, who you value in your life. And when this rune comes up in a reading, usually it means that who is getting the reading needs to examine their social circle, even their family or their colleagues. Are these the people they want to be with, they want to spend their time with? Are they generating any good Haminga from being with these people? And if the answer is no, then you need to change your circle. That's pretty clear, because if you're with people you don't value and these people don't value you, one or the other, or both at the same time, then Haminga is rarely generated, if at all, probably never. So you're wasting the energy of Haminga by being with these people. So it's really time to examine your social circle if this rune comes up. And if these people aren't who you want to be with, then it's time to get rid of them. And this gets us to the last rune, which is algaes. And this is the rune of protection. It is the rune of the elk. So if you look at it closely, it looks like an elk standing upright with its horns, the dominant male of the herd. And the dominant male had its pick of the females, of course, but it was also seen as the king of the forest by the ancient Nordic people. And one thing that they did with this elk is they never hunted the dominant male, because if they did, then the herd would be affected, and then their food supply and so on, and it would disrupt the balance of the forest. So they made sure that they never hunted the dominant male. So it's a very masculine rune, this one, but it's also has a feminine quality, which I'll get to shortly. And this is about protecting yourself from malevolent energy. And a good way to utilize this rune is literally draw it. Draw it around your house, like I've got. You draw it on windows, you draw it on doors, you draw it around the fence, to really create a boundary to keep out negative forces, malevolent forces. And it's very powerful. I've used it many times and it works. And it's also about not just putting up physical boundaries to keep yourself safe, but figurative boundaries, mental boundaries. If people are exploiting you in some way, or your energy is being used, drained, then your boundaries are not strong enough. Your personal boundaries aren't strong enough. So it's about examining those as well. And you may also have the flip side, is you have too many boundaries and you're being too defensive. So that's the duality of the rune as well. But it's also about being over-reliant on external things to protect you. So there's a little bit of a mix of energy with this one. And also, it is the representative of the swan, which was seen as a divine creature because the Valkyrie, which was a Norse mythological figure of a woman with swan wings, who were said to be the personal warriors of Odin, and they escorted dead warriors to Valhalla who died honourably and gloriously in battle. And these warriors went on to be the Einherjar, which were Odin's chosen warriors to defend him in Ragnarok. And the story with the Einherjar was that they would battle all day and then die in battle over and over again, and then be reborn to feast in the halls of Valhalla. And this would happen over and over again, and as they were preparing for Valhalla. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit distracted there. Getting back to the Valkyries, yes, this is the feminine aspect of the rune, the wings of the swan on the Valkyries. So the Valkyries were, I wouldn't call them extremely feminine women. They were female warriors, so a little bit unique. So that's the feminine aspect. And as you look at the rune as well, they represent, can be seen as the feet of a swan or also of a raven. Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, thought and memory. Anyway, there's a lot to do with this rune. There's a lot of interpretations of it, but a lot of different associated energies. And when you utilize the power of this rune for protection, which is its core energy, its core use, core representation, then you invoke the power of the elk and also the power of the Valkyrie. And it is a very powerful protective rune, and it can be used in various means, in bind runes or on its own as a protection rune. And that is the final rune that I will speak about in this video. And there's only, what's this, part 3? So there's 2 parts to go after this. I better get stuck into it. So I might just smash them out and get them all done so they're all up there. Taking a bit of time to do these, but got to make sure you're in the right energy and the right mindset to do them, because it's quite complex, the mythology and the energy associations with all of these runes. But as you can see from these videos, they are very, very powerful symbols and objects. And I use them every day that I can, every day in my life. And they have changed my life in many great ways. And I'm very grateful to Odin to bringing them into my life. So until part 4 rather, may your journey be blessed.